I couldn't shake the image of her from that morning. Those deep brown eyes that seemed to see right through me, the hint of a smile that was there and gone before I could place it. Now, sitting in her clinic room with a racing pulse, I realized I might have underestimated just how far a small, impulsive lie could take me. I was rushing to work that morning, barely keeping pace with my own thoughts, when I saw her. She was standing just outside a small coffee shop, looking as if she'd stepped out of some half-remembered dream. Long, dark hair fell around her shoulders, framing a face that was both striking and quietly confident, with eyes that seemed to take in everything around her. Our eyes met for just a moment, long enough for me to feel an unexpected jolt of connection, like a spark in the air between us. She looked down, then back up at me with a shy smile that vanished as quickly as it appeared. I wanted to say something, anything, but before I could think of a single word, she was gone, lost in the crowd. For the rest of the day, her face kept coming back to me, that brief, magnetic moment looping in my mind like a song I couldn't shake. By evening, I'd managed to learn that she worked nearby at a clinic just a few blocks from my office. It was a bit impulsive, okay, maybe a little crazy, but I decided I'd find a reason to go in for an appointment. Maybe a checkup, maybe something more trivial, just a chance to see her up close and maybe learn her name. That little flash of a connection felt like something rare, and I wasn't about to let it slip away. I finally found myself stepping into the clinic, my pulse already quickening at the thought that she might be here today. I'd taken a chance, walking in for a random checkup, all in hopes of crossing paths with her again. The familiar scent of antiseptic filled the air, mixed with the low hum of voices echoing down the hallway, grounding me just enough to stay calm. But then I spotted her name on the door of the exam room they directed me to, and that calm dissolved, replaced by a rush of nervous excitement. It was her, just on the other side of this door. As I reached for the handle, I realized I hadn't felt this kind of thrill in a long time. As I entered the exam room, I couldn't shake a feeling of anticipation, almost like a nervous excitement. Normally, I dreaded these appointments, but today felt different. And when the nurse walked in, I understood why. She was stunning, early 20s, with deep brown eyes that sparkled with a playful edge and a smile that softened the sterile room. "Hi there, I'm Frances," she introduced herself, her voice a soft melody that seemed to settle over me. "I'll be taking care of you today." She began her checks, moving gracefully around the room, focused on her tasks. But each time her fingers brushed my skin, it sent a jolt through me, stirring up a tension that simmered just under the surface. I found myself drawn in, my eyes meeting hers, each glance feeling charged, as if there were unspoken words hanging between us. "So far, everything looks good," she said, her gaze lingering a second longer than usual. "Just a few more things to check." "Sure, I'm ready," I replied, feeling my pulse quicken. She stepped in close, her body just inches from mine, the air between us thickening with an unspoken intensity. "I need you to take off your shirt for this next part," she instructed, her voice calm, yet with a hint of something deeper. I hesitated for just a second, taken aback by how close she was, but did as she asked. As I slipped off my shirt, I noticed her eyes tracing over my skin, a spark of something intriguing flickering in her gaze. "You've got nothing to be nervous about," she murmured, her voice a soft reassurance. "Yeah, I guess so," I replied, trying to sound relaxed, but the tension was obvious in my voice. "Just relax," she whispered, leaning in, her breath warm against my ear. The proximity made my pulse race even faster, and I could feel her gaze on me, heavy and intense. In a moment of boldness, I leaned closer, our lips almost touching. "What if I don't want to relax?" I whispered, the words slipping out before I could think. Her breath caught, her eyes darkening, and for a brief moment, the rest of the world faded away. She held my gaze, her own desire mirrored back at me. "Then, maybe we shouldn't," she replied, her voice low, almost daring. But in one quick movement, I closed the distance, capturing her lips with mine. The kiss was tentative at first, almost like a question, but as she softened into it, it grew deeper, more passionate. Her hands slid up into my hair, pulling me closer as our mouths moved together in perfect rhythm. Frances's lips trailed down to my neck, leaving soft kisses that made me catch my breath. "We shouldn't be doing this," she murmured against my skin, though her voice held no trace of resistance, only longing. "Then why can't we stop?" I replied, my hands sliding down her back, feeling the curves beneath her uniform. She paused, her breath warm against me, her voice barely a whisper. "Because it feels too good." Her eyes sparkled with mischief as she leaned in, a soft smile playing at her lips. I kissed her again, this time with more urgency, as a fierce hunger built between us. Each kiss seemed to deepen our connection, her fingers gripping my shoulders as she pressed herself closer, our breaths quickening with each touch. "I've been waiting for someone like you," she confessed breathlessly, her hands exploring my chest. "Someone who isn't afraid to take a chance." "Then let's take that chance," I replied, my voice thick with anticipation. Her lips curled into a smile before she kissed me again, deeper this time, as her excitement intertwined with mine. Each kiss drew us further in, my hands finding her waist and pulling her closer, as if closing even the smallest gap between us wasn't enough. Frances looked up, her eyes glimmering with a playful light. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, but the desire in her gaze was undeniable. I nodded, my breath catching as I met her gaze. "Absolutely." With that, she pressed herself against me, her lips crashing into mine. Her touch was more urgent, her hands slipping under the edge of my shirt, her fingers brushing against my skin, leaving a trail of warmth. The sensation sent a rush through me, pulling me further into the moment, wanting nothing but more. "Just relax," she murmured against my lips, her breath warm. As her fingers deftly worked on the button of my pants, I felt a wave of anticipation ripple through me. My pulse raced as she slowly unzipped them, her gaze fixed on mine, never wavering. "I never thought I'd find this here," I managed to say, my voice thick with excitement and awe. "Neither did I," she admitted, her touch sending a thrill through me. The warmth of her fingers on my skin, her gentle, deliberate movements, sent waves of sensation through my entire body, making me gasp. Frances's eyes sparkled with a playful mix of mischief and desire as she leaned closer, her lips brushing lightly along my neck. "You're so responsive," she whispered, her warm breath sending a shiver down my spine. "Just let go." Her touch sparked something deep within me, and I felt my self-control slipping as I pulled her closer, my hands finding her waist. Her fingers explored me with an eagerness that matched my own, each touch an invitation. I responded by lifting her shirt, eager to feel her skin against mine. "You're beautiful," I murmured, my hands roaming over her curves as I kissed her deeply, pressing her body closer until the world outside faded entirely. Frances's breath quickened as she leaned into me, her body molding against mine, and our kisses grew more fervent. My hands slid up her back, pulling her close, and she responded with soft gasps that only fueled my desire. "Let's take our time," she breathed against my lips, a playful spark in her eyes. "I want to savor this." "Agreed," I whispered back, my heart pounding as our kisses deepened, hands exploring, bodies entwining in a dance of need. I trailed soft kisses down her neck, relishing the taste of her skin. She tilted her head back, surrendering to the moment. My hands drifted lower, fingers hovering at the waistband of her pants. "Is this okay?" I asked, my voice low, thick with yearning. "Please," she breathed, her eyes darkened with desire. "I want you." With her encouragement, my hand slipped under the fabric, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath my fingertips. She arched against me, her heart beating fast, matching my own pulse. As we kissed, I felt her hand slide down, slipping under my waistband and brushing against me, sending a wave of sensation through me. "Someone's excited," she teased, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers through me. I pressed my palm against her chest, feeling the rapid beat of her heart beneath her uniform. "You're driving me crazy," I murmured, my hands moving along her, pouring all my longing into our connection. Her eyes glinted with mischief as her fingers traced along my skin, every touch igniting sparks. My breath hitched, and I pressed more firmly against her. Our bodies entwined in a beautiful, chaotic rhythm. "Francis," I whispered, my voice thick with desire, "we shouldn't be doing this. Then why does it feel so right?" She replied, her warm breath on my lips, a playful challenge in her eyes. I couldn't argue with that. My hands continued their exploration, feeling her curves beneath my fingers as she matched each of my touches with her own. Everything beyond us ceased to exist. We were lost in this moment, surrendering completely to the heat between us. With steady hands, I unfastened the buttons of her shirt, revealing the smooth skin beneath. She gasped softly, her body arching toward me as I trailed kisses down her collarbone. Francis's hands tangled in my hair, pulling me closer as I lost myself in the taste of her skin. Every kiss, every touch fanned the flames between us, making the air feel electric with the intensity of our desire. "You're intoxicating," I murmured against her skin, my hands tracing over her, feeling the warmth radiating from her. "Just wait until you see what else I can do," she replied, her voice playful yet filled with promise. With a surge of passion, I kissed her again, our mouths moving in harmony, a fervent rhythm that felt like it could set the world on fire. My hands found her waist, pulling her as close as possible, and our bodies melted together in the intimate space, a world entirely our own as we continued to explore each other. As her fingers brushed against my skin, that electric thrill between us deepened. Our breaths mingled in the small, sterile room, and it felt as if the whole world had been distilled to this one impossible, exhilarating moment. Her eyes met mine, wide with something just as unexpected as my own feelings, and for a second, I thought we might give in completely. But then, she blinked, a hint of conflict flickering across her expression. We can't do this here," she whispered, almost like she was convincing herself as much as me. I swallowed, grounding myself in the realization that she was right. This wasn't the time, wasn't the place, but that didn't make it feel any less right. The connection between us was undeniable, and the thought of just walking away gnawed at me. She reached for a pen, and with a small, almost shy smile, scribbled something on a scrap of paper. "Meet me tonight?" she whispered, holding it out for me to take. Her gaze held a quiet promise, an invitation. I looked down at the address, my heart racing as I clutched the paper tightly. "Absolutely," I replied, my voice thick with anticipation. With one last lingering glance, she stepped back, her fingers slipping from mine. And as I walked out of the clinic, the tension simmering between us felt like an unspoken vow, something rare and powerful, just waiting to unfold.